All right, so I just wanted to quickly go over the SPY signals that we've added to the group here. This is something that I've been working on for quite some time, and it does a really good job. These are day trading signals, first of all. They can potentially be used for longer term signals. I hadn't really perfected that, but I have really kind of perfected it on the 5 minute chart. So, what we're looking at today is here's the SPY 5 minute chart. And the way that this signal works, I've got it running on a multiple different indicators, kind of like the Scooby signal, but this is kind of that 2.0. For now, and there's still a lot of tweaks to this. So just know at this point, here we're in December 22nd, 2021. There's still some tweaks that are being done to this, but so far it's worked out pretty good. So just looking at today's chart. Now there's a couple aspects to this. One of them is that I have this actually running on the ES futures, so the S&P 500 futures. That's because the data is a little better and it's a little smoother. The data that I was getting on SPY with this worked, but the signals actually ended up being more accurate for SPY, pulling the data from the ES futures. So it's continuously rolling to the next contract on futures and getting data from overnight as well. So that piece is kind of important. So just looking at today, now today we kind of had a little bit of a trending day, so it was sending information all day. But I want to give you where the signals came from. So this morning we had our first signal, and let's see if I can go. Now I'm going to start showing you the SPY signals fast. There are two different versions of this, as you've seen. So the SPY signals fast, there were quite a number of signals today, but let's look at it starting at like 8:15 or so. Okay, so in here. So we had our first kind of buy signal. We had some stuff going on overnight. There was your exit on the sell from overnight around 7 o'clock or so. And then we had a confirmation buy here at 9:10 before the market opened. Okay, so at 9:10, that puts us right here. So the confirmation comes in after the 5 minute candle closes. And we want to make the trade after the candle closes, obviously, because that's our confirmation. If we get a signal in between this candle opening or closing, then it could be a false signal. We could get faked out. So that's the reason for looking at 5 minute charts and waiting for the candle to close to send the alert, send the signal. So right here, this was our buy signal at 9:10. Now that's great to take notice of when you're watching these signals, because that tells you that when the market opens, unless something vastly changes, that's kind of the mood for the open is a buy. So you want to pay attention to those at the open. So here we had one at 9:10. Giving us our buy, and then at 9:40 you see here it says normal buy turned strong. Okay, that was at 9:40, so that would have been off of this 5 minute candle here. So if you did nothing else but buy the open, you would have been fine. I think it's probably prudent to wait for the open to come in and get that confirmation. But at 9:40, we got a normal buy turned strong. Now, what does that mean when it goes from a confirmation buy and then it says buy turned strong? Or you'll see sometimes it'll just say like normal sell, normal buy, that sort of thing. Normal buy, what a normal buy is, it means the signals, the indicators that are underlying this signal, they've triggered a buy signal. There's extra emphasis when all the indicators are really moving the same direction. And so that gives us the strong buy. Okay, so we got a strong buy at 9:40. Now, on the fast, what this means is that this can kind of change during the day. For more, today was pretty trending, so that was a little more difficult. We'll go back and look at some previous days. But That means for especially a trending day, I mean, if you would have bought there, then that would have been a good, off of that candle, would have been a good, you know, $3.30 move. Or even if you got out early, $3 or so, right? $2.50 move, which could be a pretty big move on options. So that alone was a great signal. Now let's keep looking and see what the other signals were. So after we got that at 9:40, at 9:55 we had a confirmation exit. So what the exit means is that things are probably slowing down. That was at 9:55, so let's look at that. So at 9:55, you could have exited here. Okay? So that would have been a good scalp. It doesn't mean you have to exit on those. It's just giving you a take profit zone. So the fast I really kind of set up for scalping, and that's sort of what that is. You can ignore those if you want to ignore them. You can see that it did give you an out before things sort of chopped up a little bit. And then at 10:20, it gave us this ascending triangle pattern. So when you're looking at this and you get this signal, it's not obviously a trade signal, it's telling you a pattern. So ascending triangle is going to look like 10:20. So it's going to look at the chart and see, you know, something like this on the chart. So that gives you an idea. We've got an ascending triangle here, and boom, it broke out of that. So instead of getting out early, you see the pattern, and then you can see obviously the pattern was confirmed to the upside. You've got more upside coming. So that's where that's useful. Okay? And then we've got the another confirmation exit at 10:55. So at 10:55, which would have been on this candle, there's your second exit. Okay? And that's one heck of a move right there. Let's keep going. Double top. All right, well, if you didn't get out at 10:55, when we hear about a double top forming, that's probably going to be, and excuse me, that was at 11:50. So at 11:50, it detected this right here. Double top. So even though it did kind of go over it there about 1 o'clock today, it gave us this pattern of a double top. So it's either going to break to the upside, or most likely double top is resistance that's going to stay. All right, then we got a head and shoulders pattern at 12:50. So the head and shoulders is going to look, and this is hard to draw on this, it's going to look like this. So we've got a shoulder. Okay, so we got a head and we got a shoulder. And that shoulder, I guess, could be relaxed on out to there, right? Shoulder, head, shoulder, and you can see it broke. Now today was too bullish to take it down much further, but obviously a head and shoulders pattern is a detection of something coming down further to the downside. So we got a mild sell off that, and so we had a confirmation sell at 125. 125 would have been here. Here. So it would have been on that candle right there. And you can see that candle right there. It did obviously move down, so the signal was good. And our exit on that was at 2 o'clock. And so that would have been right here. So not a huge move on that, but again, it was kind of developed for a scalp, and that would have been a good one. And then we had that normal sell turn strong at 2:30. All right, that was this candle. And obviously it didn't last, it popped back up. But And that was still a pretty decent signal. We had a falling wedge pattern detected at the same time. So what does that look like? So that gives us an idea when this is going to give us some downside, that we did have a falling wedge pattern. And then what did we get? We got a strong buy at 255. So 255 would have been this candle right here. So obviously we see that the market moved the other direction, and at 255 we got a strong buy. And see how it says normal buy turns strong, but we already had a strong buy. So what this means is, in the background, even though it didn't create a signal, that strong buy got a little bit weaker. But then obviously at 340, it turned strong again, and we had a good strong close. And then did it give us an exit? And it gave us an exit right here. So as you can see, that works out pretty well. Works out pretty well indeed. And actually, that was on this candle. And then we could exit at the end of the day. So if you did nothing but trade those fast signals, you would have had a pretty excellent day. And it can help you see things in the market more clearly. These signals can. One of the things that it does for me is it really creates patience. Because when you're looking at the chart and you're trying to find a trade and you want to jump into a trade, you can do it a little hastily sometimes and see things that aren't there. But I really believe that anything that we can automate to give us some edge in the market, anything that we can do to automate that is definitely going to help us. And so this is sort of automating all of those different things that we see. It gives us a clearer picture that, okay, yes, I'm thinking that it's going to go up. SPY signal says confirm buy. Groovy. Let's go for it. And then we can see that was an excellent move. Yesterday was also a bit of a trending day, right? So I don't want to say that these signals only work on trending days, because that's what we've had the last 2 days. But let's go back and look at yesterday's signals and just kind of go through them real quick. Now, we actually had less signals yesterday. And you can imagine why. It's because yesterday it just pretty much did one thing. But let's see. Overnight, 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m., we had some signals going on from overnight activity. Here's the one to kind of look at it. 9:15 before the market opened. So that would be on this candle. Remember, it waits for this candle to close. So this 9:10 candle, you would have gotten the alert at 9:15, but it waited on this 5-minute candle to close from 9:10 to 9:15. And so that was the strong sell signal. Okay? And of course, the open is going to go a little crazy. The first 10-15 minutes of the day is always going to be a little extra crazy. So we kind of want to wait and see what's going to happen a little bit. And as you can see, yesterday, so we got sort of, and that's what happened, we got sort of this false signal of a strong buy at the open. And it did pop at the open. But then right after that, we got a strong sell off of this candle. So we had a strong buy and a strong sell. That was both of these. And if you would have seen that candle at the open, you probably would have thought it's a buy too, but then you get this one, a big bearish candle, and that was a sell. Then we got a confirmation buy at 10:20. So 10:20 would have been off this candle. And that again was sort of a fake signal. And so that's where sometimes these fast signals might get you into a little bit of trouble. But then we had a buy, so that one wouldn't have worked out. But then we had a buy at 10:20, I'm sorry, that was the one we just did, right? So then we had to buy a strong sell at 10:30. That was obviously this candle. It didn't go down much further, but that, I mean, anybody looking at that would say that that's a strong sell. Then we had a buy at 11:10. So we got out of this chop in the morning. And so at 11:10, that would have been this candle. And then that normal buy turned strong at 11:40. Well, pretty clear why that happened, right? So you had a buy, and then you had a strong buy at 11:40. And it gave you an exit at 11:55, which would have been this candle, okay? But again, you don't necessarily have to exit when it says exit. Do that of your own accord. Now, we did have a rising wedge pattern at 12:15. So what does that look like? So it triggered it at 12:15. So we're looking at something like this. So we had the rising wedge. And rising wedges, sometimes they'll break out to the upside, but a lot of times they just go sideways, especially when it's a trending day like this. And price has already moved from bottom to the top. You know, it moved $5 almost. That's a huge move. So what's it going to do after that? I mean, SPY doesn't normally move more than 1% a day. Funny, today it moved exactly 1%. So 1% move is a big move on SPY. That was already a pretty big move. It moved down quite a bit and moved back up. Confirmation exit again in 11:55. Rising wedge. Another exit buy at 12:40. So that would have been right here. Okay, so that's an excellent move. And we don't necessarily have to go through all of these, but you kind of get the idea, right? There wasn't a lot of signals the rest of the day. Just continuing to flare up buy signals. And yeah. Now let's look at this comparison to the slow signals, because I want you to pay attention to this. And a lot of people have really latched on to the fast signals because you're going to get more of them, but more isn't necessarily better. We've seen how, especially in the morning when it's real volatile, sometimes the early signals on the fast can be a little extra. Let's go to the slow signals. And I'm just trying to keep this out of the way. So if you look at yesterday, there were very few signals. Most of these are pre-market, right? 1, 3, 5, 6 a.m. Okay, but we did have a strong buy at 6:15. We did have a strong buy, and then no more signals until 9:45. So if you would have been watching these slow, this is what would have happened. At 9:45, 6:15 is more than 3 hours before the market opens, so a lot can happen in that amount of time. But we did have a confirmation sell there at 9:45. So at 9:45, that would have been based on this candle. There's your 9:45 slow sell signal. And then nothing really much happened until we got this descending broadening wedge pattern. So what does that look like? Descending broadening wedge triggered at 11:35. That is this right here. Okay, so you draw that on your chart, and what that's telling you is that we have this pattern. This is what the pattern looks like. It's telling you what the pattern is. Draw it on your chart, and you can see what the signals are looking at. So it's looking at this back and forth consolidation. You're looking for somewhere to break. Now you could play it from top to bottom, from bottom to top, but at that pattern detected at 11:35, you draw that on your chart, and then what happens is it broke out of it, and we got a confirmation strong buy. So that would be that candle right there. So we could have played the downside and we played the upside. And that's where the slow is good. Yes, it's going to give you less signals, but you're going to get higher confidence on the signals. And you could use the two in conjunction, right? If you look at the fast, look at the slow, see if it's told you anything that confirms. maybe use the fast signals, but wait for your entry or size up whenever it gives you the same signal on the slow. And then you got the confirmation exit at 2:30. So the slow is good because it would have held you in this trade until 2:30, which is right there. So that's a good little move right there, just based on that one buy all the way up to there. All right, gave you a rising wedge pattern detected at 3 p.m. and then that was later that night. So that's pretty much all that the slow gave you that day. It gave you 2 trades, and one was a good trade. The other one was a really good trade. Now, if we look at today on the slow, and again, this is just to compare the two, because I want people to not ignore the slow signals and really kind of understand how to use them. And I'm going to take off these drawings that I did real quick. The slow is going to give you something that is more reliable. Yes, it's less. And you could also use it for bigger sizing if you wanted to, however you want to use it. But you need to look at these signals and look at the chart and not just make a trade based on the signal. The signal is just an indicator. It's a computer, right? So that's midnight, 1 to 5 a.m., 7. All right, so 8:25, we got a confirmation sell. And at 8:40, we had a sell turn strong. So that's pre-market. So we're watching the pre-market here in the morning. Okay. That's in this area. So yeah, it was looking pretty bearish right there. And then obviously you're watching that pre-market, and it did the opposite going into the open. And then at 9:40, which would have been based on this candle, very similar to what our fast signal gave us, it gave us strong buy. Now, so you got the signal on the fast at the same time, and then you got the slow signal also giving you a confirmation of a strong buy. That's definitely a good signal that it's a good time to enter. These contrarian, I'm still working out. Ignore the contrarian signals for now because you don't want to go against the trend. But here you got a confirmation exit at 105. So the slow signal, yeah, it didn't give you very many signals today, but you got the entry, and then at 105, which is right here on that candle, pretty much the top right there, right? So it gave you a heck of a move off the confirmation of strong buy to the top of the day, and that was a good $3.30 move. Okay, let's see, did it give us anything else? Double top, same pattern as detected on the fast signal, and that was it. That was all the signals today. What happens whenever it pulls back like this? You know, the fast signal gave us the head and shoulders pattern intraday, and it gave us a sell signal up here, and it would have been good for a little scalp. The slow signals are not going to be good for scalping. They're going to be good for 1 or maybe 2 day trades a day, and they're going to be good trades. They're going to be good signals, but it's not going to give you quite as many, which I like. I'd rather have 1 or 2 really good trades a day. The fast signal can get you in a little bit earlier, and so if you look at one of the signals off the fast and you say, your own indicators and your own gut agrees with what that signal's telling you, then take it. And then when the slow signal comes in and confirms it, it just affirms your position. Maybe you size up a little bit. But the signals, again, they're indicators. That's all they are, but it's giving you a nice something that you can look at throughout the day based on something I've been back testing for a good 7 months now that works really well. Some days when we get some really kind of sideways action, maybe we don't get as many signals, and maybe it's when it's just kind of choppy, maybe there's really not much to signal, right? But that's how the market goes, right? If the market really isn't doing much, then what's there to put out there? I'll go back and actually give you one little thing from before I had it live, and just to be an example. And I'm going to go back to December 13th, this day. Okay, so on this day, what happened? It just puked at the open, completely puked. And we had some technical support resistance things going on here that told us on our trade plan that day that this was a possibility because of how high up it was, and those, if you remember correctly, 470.80 was our level there that we were watching. That it just got below that and puked. But to give you some idea, the slow signal would have given you a signal that morning at 7 a.m. So pretty early, right? 7 a.m. is over here. So at 7 a.m., it triggered a sell signal. And that sell signal turned strong at 9:35. So the first 5 minutes of the day made that sell signal strong. So if you did nothing else but wait for the slow to give you a strong sell, then, I mean, you can see what it did the rest of the day. It just puked. And that would have been a decent little, $2.80, $2 move. Okay, so that would have been awesome. And the slow signals didn't do anything else the rest of the day because that was the day. I mean, it just puked that day. Now the fast signals did something a little bit different, and this is where I kind of want to highlight the difference between the slow and the fast. The fast signals gave us, in between this chop, kind of gave us, and you can use this maybe as an indicator for a bottom, right? The fast also gave us a buy on this candle, okay, whenever it kind of popped. And it also gave us a sell here. But all it's really doing is chopping around. And then it gave us a buy here, which, would have worked out. But for one thing, you really don't want to go against the trend. When a day is really trending pretty strong, like yesterday and today on the buy side, and trending really strongly back here on the 13th last week on the sell side, you don't really want to go against it and start buying. I mean, you could have bought and gotten a little bit out of it, but you see it just dumped into the close there. And that's where it really kind of helps to smooth things out, to see things a little bit more clearly when the only signal you're getting is the sell signal at 7 a.m. and then the strong sell at 9:35. That would have been your indicator that, today is going to be a dump. We didn't get anything else the rest of the day. Take profit when you want to. Go watch some TV. So there's going to be different, depending on how the day acts and how the indicators underlying this line up. You're going to get some days where there's not a ton. But that's why I did both the fast and the the fast and the slow. Because I like the slow. I like the smoothness of it. But I did notice that on my fast settings, I was getting some entries a little bit earlier, and it kind of gave me some good time frames to scalp a little bit better. Now, I did this on 5-minute candlesticks. So when you're looking at this on your chart, you don't necessarily have to have 5-minute candlesticks up, but it might help you. I have seen the 5-minute candlesticks be the best as far as giving good trade signals, just purely looking at candlestick patterns. This one at 9:35 was an inverted hammer. If you saw an inverted hammer on a 1 minute, that might be okay, but it's not going to work out a lot of the times. If you get an inverted hammer on the 5-minute, that's a pretty good indication. If you get an inverted hammer on a 15-minute, that's a really good indication, right? So, and in fact, we at 9:45 we did get an inverted hammer, but that's kind of how you want to look and how you want to play this. So, that's those SPY fast and slow signals. If anybody has any questions, let me know. I can't really say much more than that because they're really not much more complicated than that. They're a set of indicators that work. They give some signals for trades. They are not trade alerts, but they will give you pattern detection for the patterns that work the best on SPY. They will give you confirmations on some of the things you're already thinking as far as going long, going short, that sort of thing. And it gives you some indications on maybe when a good exit point is. And usually the exit, that's not necessarily the top or the bottom, right? No indicator or no person can predict the top or the bottom. But especially if you're trading multiples, maybe take half when it gives you the confirmation to exit and let the other half ride, however you want to play it. But how you play it is totally up to you. It's all about just watching the signal and giving you some good confirmation, and then you can take and do with it whatever you want to. Well, that's all I got. I hope you enjoy these SPY signals. Again, there's something to confirm your thinking. They're hopefully a nice value add to the group. They are SPY specific. The way that I have them set up, I haven't really tried them too much with other stocks, but this is set up specifically for SPY. And like I say, I've been watching this for the last 6-7 months, tweaking and perfecting. I'm still tweaking and perfecting. If the market changes and all of a sudden I need to do some tweaks to this, I'll do those as they go. I'm not setting and forgetting this. As I have a couple of times, I've noticed that as the market tone changes a little bit, I've had to kind of, especially the fast signals, change them just a little bit, just to kind of make it work better for the market, so we don't get false signals. So I'm going to keep updating it. It's going to be alerted in the group. You go to the SPY Alerts channel to turn them on and off. All you got to do for that is under SPY Alerts, just go in and check either that you want to get purple, the fast signals, and or blue to get the slow signals. And if you don't want to get them anymore, then you just unclick it, and then it'll take that channel away for you. And so you can get access to those with the membership in the group, and you can turn them on and off at will. One of the things I'm working on that was my own personal request, and then Bullgrad requested earlier, about having the signals not come in overnight. So I'm going to work on that and see what we can do on that. It's a little bit more difficult than I thought it was, but we'll work on that. And any other requests and things that you got on it. The other thing that I'm working on at the same time is I'm working on doing this for longer time frames as well. So if we get a signal on the 5-minute chart here, and we also get a signal in, say, the 15-minute or the hourly chart or even the daily chart, that's what I'm going to work on next. But for right now, everything's based on the 5-minute chart because it's very reliable as far as day trading goes. So that's it.